This program is brought to you by thepodcastfactory.com.
You're listening to the Pretend You're Fired Today podcast. And now, here's your host, Lisa Rangel.
Welcome and hello. Welcome to the 26th episode of the Pretend You're Fired Today podcast. I'm Lisa Rangel, host of the Pretend You're Fired Today podcast and founder of Chameleon Resumes. We are an executive resume writing, LinkedIn profile development, and job search consultancy firm. We help executives and high potential leaders land their next position faster. And today's podcast show topic will cover how to create an elevator pitch to grab your listeners' attention. We're going to address 7 steps that will help you craft a pitch that you can use for any formal or informal event that you attend where you're asked that infamous question, tell me about you, or what do you do? So this will be a huge confidence builder when you can nail this question and have this activity done. So this way you're prepared at any time. So let's do this. If you have a career of any kind, no matter what stage you're in, you need an elevator pitch. Some call it an elevator speech. An elevator pitch is roughly a 30-second soundbite that you use to answer about yourself when you're asked that question. You know, tell me about yourself, or what do you do? Has anyone actually, here's a thought, has anyone ever actually used the elevator pitch in an elevator? Well, my doubt exists that if you will use it in an elevator, but you will most definitely use an elevator pitch at BBQs, at conferences, at job fairs, networking events. If you're sitting on an airline flight, if you're at a cocktail party, you're taking education or training seminars with people you're sitting next to and you're introducing yourself, more informal community gatherings. I mean, these are just a few places that you can use an elevator pitch and be ready and start to make new relationships or deepen existing ones. The possibilities of where to use an elevator pitch to describe what you do, in my opinion, is endless. You really just need to always be ready. Although I'm not so sure about the name elevator pitch. You know, maybe we should call it the barbecue boast or the conference quote or the party pitch or even the seminar spiel, right? Regardless of the name or the place that you're using it, it behooves you to be ready and have your elevator pitch done. So making that connection and telling someone about you can lead you to your next job. It can lead you to your next sale. It can lead you to your next client. It can lead you to your next growth opportunity. It can help you find your next volunteer gig. Or it can simply help you with an opportunity to help someone else. Because once you know what someone else does, they know what you do, you're able to make connections for them. So I just think it's an invaluable skill, tactic to have ready. So let's be ready. Let's show you how to create your 30-second elevator pitch. First, I want you to consider your goal. You always have to keep in mind the image you're trying to project. Think of the target you want to attract when delivering your pitch. Who do you want to be interested in learning more about you? What kind of job do you want? What kind of client do you want? How do you want to be perceived when you say your spiel? You know, having that goal or that target job in mind when crafting your pitch is paramount. It gives you the context in which to increase the chances of the right audience being hooked onto your words and want to learn more about you. You don't want to attract everybody with your pitch. You want to attract the people that are going to be able to help you. And in turn, you help them. So next, don't be afraid to consider different audiences. You know, the same way you tweak your resume for different positions and different variations for different jobs, same thing with your elevator pitch. Consider your audiences. You might have a more precise, high-power sounding pitch for, say, a professional conference, but you may have a more easygoing, laid-back pitch for sitting on the sidelines with other parents at your kid's softball game. Your goal may shift with the audience, so be prepared to change that aspect of the pitch. For example, at a community event, you may indicate that you're looking to connect with marketing executives for exposure and ideas to cast a wider net based on your experience, whereas at a professional networking event, you might be more specific, indicating that you're looking to connect with chief marketing officers at consumer product firms as you're looking for a marketing leadership role, as you're compiling your pitch. So consider your audience. The latter might be a bit much at a casual PTA meeting, so adjust accordingly. Next, do a data dump. So by data dump, I mean write down all of your achievements that you're proud of in your personal and your professional life. And in this phase, I don't want you to judge the information that you're writing down. Don't be hindered by what you think should be included. Just write. Just write like you talk. You will be editing and culling and refining all in the next step. But this is the brainstorming phase. So anything that you've accomplished, anything that you're proud of, write it all down and write down when you did it. Also, next, you want to create your hook. This is now that you have all your data dump information in one place. Here's where you create your hook. Create your pitch. Your pitch should create interest. Leave the person who's listening, if they're the right audience, that they're going to want to ask you more. And even if they're not the right audience, they'll be polite and have a good conversation with you. So the pitch doesn't have to be long and convoluted. I had a client once boil his elevator pitch down to, I create blogs for business owners who hate blogging. It was that simple, because then it asked the questions that would come next are, what kind of blogs? What kind of business owners? Is it, you have a niche? You have an industry that you specialize in? So it just, again, you want something that creates intrigue and curiosity to keep the conversation going. That's the goal. Also, the pitch doesn't have to include like everything you've ever done in the last 25, 30 years, boiled all the way down to a 30-second pitch. That's not the goal either. It's not, this historical bio that's boiled down to 30 seconds. So what's the hook? When you see your data dump of accomplishments and proud moments, is there a common theme of behavior that you normally do, that you like doing and want to continue doing? Is there a common theme of results in that data dump you did? If you're doing a career change, what transferable skills do you want to use in your next job that you want to highlight in this pitch? What do you want to be doing in your next position? Factor in what you want to do and what results you have for that task you want to do or that skill you have that you want to use when culling the data to come up with your pitch. I suggest narrowing your data down to a common achievement theme or a couple of clear points that tell people about what you want to do next and where you may want to do it, or what you do now and how you're doing it. Number 5, this 5th point, this is a thought shift. I want you to think as you're writing it that you want to draw your contact in. You want to draw your audience in versus sell them. So again, it's almost like permission-based marketing versus outbound marketing. So when crafting your pitch, it's best to come from a confident perspective of, here's what I do and here's what I'm looking for, and let the conversation flow from there. Don't make the mistake of trying to sell each person you speak to. It will just come across as awkward and off-putting. And to me, that's like that networking lounge lizard type persona where everybody's always trying to oversell themselves. Like, you don't want that. You want to instead draw the right people in with interest by making a firm, specific pitch and let the right ideas connect naturally amongst you and the people that you're speaking with. Number 6, be ready also to tie in your purpose. Why do you love what you do? It's one thing to say, I'm a CFO that brings financing to startup technology firms. But if you can add, and of course it needs to come from the heart, if you can add something like, and it fires me up to contribute to bringing tech advances that make life more efficient and productive to the marketplace. Something that has a passionate element to it, in addition to what you do and who you do it for, makes it more personal, makes your pitch more personal. It conveys more passion. And again, of course, it needs to come from the heart. You can't just make it up because it sounds great, because people are going to eventually kind of see through that. And lastly, certainly not least, but lastly, practice again and again. And when you think you're done practicing, frankly, practice some more. Only through practice will you hone these words of your pitch to make them sound more natural. You want to make eye contact. You want to have your shoulders back proudly when you say this pitch. You don't want to sound like you memorized the script. You don't want to ramble awkwardly. You want to communicate these lines comfortably and confidently and saying it over and over and over again in a mirror and in practice, frankly, at events. Don't wait for it to be perfect before you use it. Be using it at events that will enable you to perfect it. And perfection won't come the first time. You may stumble. You may sound like a dork. But frankly, I've owned that before. When I've shifted my own 30-second pitches Frankly, if I've stumbled, I'd say, oh, clearly I'm practicing that 30-second pitch. And people laugh because everybody knows about it. And some people are better at it than others, but everybody's struggled with it. Everybody has it in common. So perfection won't come the first time. And frankly, like a resume that you need to edit and tweak for different scenarios, your pitch is still going to change and tweak over time for different events and different stages of your life anyway. So you might as well just always be in a perpetual state of practicing it because that's the only way you're going to get good at it. Having this stage down, having this elevator pitch stage down will dramatically increase your confidence in social settings of all kinds. You know someone is going to ask at some point, so what do you do? Or tell me about you. And now you don't have to stumble or you don't have to pray they don't ask. Now you can say, bring it on. Bring on that question. Let's go. I'm ready. So if you found this helpful and you want more interview preparation resources, go to our interview prep sheet at interviewprepsheet.com. You can download our interview prep sheet there, ensure that you have all your bases covered and that you're ready to crush that interview, whether it's a regular interview, an exploratory interview, or even a performance evaluation or an interview for a promotion. Even a performance evaluation, I still view as a form of an interview. You're interviewing to show how awesome you are and to keep your job and be considered for more progressive opportunities. So we have additional interview tactics and strategies for you to nail that next interview or performance review if you go to interviewprepsheet.com and get the prep sheet there. So in past episodes, we talked about the only way to truly protect yourself from job loss is to pretend you're fired today. Make a list of activities that you would do to find your next job, but do them now while you're still working and you don't need the job right now because you're working. So doing proactive activities to keep yourself in demand when you don't need a job, this is key. This is a key element in this pretend you're fired today action list. You want to create the demand before you need it. Keep your network primed, keep your network active. So this way you stay in the forefront of your network's mind. And again, you're creating demand for yourself before you need it consistently. We want you to have that demand ready when you need it. So you need to create it now before you need it. This way, if your job situation changes unexpectedly or all of a sudden they make decisions at work and you don't want to be there anymore or they decide they don't want you there anymore, you already have pent-up demand for what you do and you'll be able to find something pretty quickly. And something that you like, not just like that stopgap job that keeps the paycheck going, but you're not happy doing it. So that's the key. That's my experience. And for the next few episodes of the Pretend You're Fired Today podcast, we're going to continue through a list of tactics and activities to do now, as if you were let go today, to ensure that you are always ready for whatever the world brings your way. The first item on the Pretend You're Fired Today podcast list, activity list, was the resume. We cover that in episodes 1 through 8. And the second item on the list was updating your profile, your LinkedIn profile. So you can review how to do that in episodes 9 through 12. And in the last few episodes, we've covered a myriad of topics. Some of the topics we covered were how to work with recruiters, how to make job boards work for you. We also discussed how to create star and car stories to boost your interview performance. This way you can crush an interview and get an offer. And I'm so proud of you of taking these steps to making yourself marketable when you don't need it. Now, I've repeated this a number of times because it is that important. Most people wait for the unexpected job change to happen, and then they learn this information, and they're scrambling, and they're panicked, and it's just not going, it doesn't go smooth when it happens that way. So kudos to you for learning this now and doing it before you need it. My friend saved me with her priceless advice years ago of pretend you're fired today and doing this exact advice that I'm telling you now, and I'm paying it forward with you. I ask you to pay this sentiment forward, share it with as many executives and rising professionals who you feel would benefit from this. Create the demand before you needed advice. Doing the preparation suggested in this episode will prepare you to converse and interview confidently. And in our next episode, we're going to discuss how to answer in depth beyond that 30-second pitch, the tell me about yourself question. We're going to show you how to nail it. And most people dread that question on an interview, in a social situation of any kind. And so we're going to expand upon it. We're going to tackle it head on. And to start, go to interviewprepsheet.com, download our interview prep sheet. So this way you are ready for the next episode. Tune in for the next episode. Don't miss it. Until then, again, go to interviewprepsheet.com, download the prep sheet, be ready for the next session. I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Thank you and be well.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.